Chickies and Pete, Zach Gelb show rolling along on a Thursday, powered by Corona Light in Bordentown, New Jersey. 17 minutes past the hour, and the second and final hour of the Zach Gelb show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 920 AM or 920thejersey.com. Big game this week, and going into the year, if you would have told me Lions-Giants would have been a big game, I probably would have said, not so much. But this is a big game as the Lions are trying to keep their pace going in their division and get their 10th win, which would basically lock them in to the playoffs. And the Giants, who did a nice job against the Cowboys, probably just need one more win as well to get them into the playoffs. And now joining us does a great job covering the Detroit Lions for the Detroit News. That's Justin Rogers. Justin, sorry to get out to you a few minutes late. Thanks for the time. And how are you today?
Hey, no problem. What if I told you these two defenses hadn't allowed more than 20 points in 6 straight games? I think that probably would have surprised you a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely would have been surprising because going into the year, people were saying, I don't know about the Giants' defense, and they thought the offense was going to be really good. And the irony is that right now, the defense is very good, like you were saying, and the offense not so much. And really, when you look at the total defense numbers, and I know Ben McAdoo had that quote that we had a little bit fun with it a few weeks ago. He said stats are for losers. You look at the stats, he may be right in this case because the Giants are the 14th ranked total defense in the league. The Lions are the 15th, and they've been playing a whole lot better, Justin, than that.
Yeah, I mean, stats aren't for losers, but you got to learn how to parse them correctly. And when I look at the Giants, I've been looking at their defense all day. It's not the yards that matter; it's where you stop teams. Their points per game is phenomenal. Their third down percentage is phenomenal. They're great against the pass. They turn the ball over. I mean, that's what makes a great defense. And the Lions really struggled in all those areas early in the year. They've really kind of hit a turnaround point here in the second half. And so they're getting healthier across the board. They missed a lot of their star power early in the season. And so now you're seeing them perform better. They play a different style than the Giants. They give up a lot of short completions and rely on tackling. But, same results. Points are low, and that's the most important thing in the NFL. Keep them off the scoreboard.
And this has been a Giants offense where it goes through one man, and that's Odell Beckham. You saw that at its best last weekend when they did nothing against the Cowboys. The offensive line was a joke with Eric Flowers. Eli Manning fumbled the football twice, threw a pick, and then finally the defense held him the whole game, and then you have Odell gets that big 60-yard play for the touchdown. What's the plan defensively against one of the better wide receivers in the league when the Lions go up against Odell Beckham?
Maybe they'll just yank his thumb in those pregame handshakes. It's pretty funny. This is a game where we're focused on two fingers, Odell's thumb and Matthew Stafford's middle finger on his throwing hand. But, the plan with Odell Beckham is, I think a lot of people are expecting him to just put Darius Slay on him exclusively. And listen, I would love to see that matchup. But Slay doesn't move into the slot a whole lot, so you're not going to see that kind of traveling. I think they're going to continue to play sides. The Lions' second cornerback, Nevin Lawson, has really stepped up in a big way his third season. He's a very physical corner. He doesn't really have the long speed to keep up with Beckham, but I believe the Lions have one of the better free safeties in the league in Glover Quinn to kind of protect them in those deep areas of the field. And when he's on Slay's side, that's just going to be a one-on-one battle, and it's going to be the matchup to watch because those are two of the best young players in the NFL. Beckham's obviously much more known, got a lot more recognition, a lot more of a highlight tape, but Slay's no joke and has really developed into one of the better cover corners in the NFL.
Do they have a few loquacious cornerbacks that could maybe talk some smack and knock Odell off his game?
The Lions don't do that. Darius Slay is one of the strangest individuals you'll meet, and I don't say that in a bad way. They talk about guys that never have a bad day. I don't know if Darius Slay's ever had a bad day in his life. The guy is always smiling, laughing. He's a clown in the best sense of the word, a class clown, if you will. He's the type of guy that if you beat him on a touchdown, he'll go, "That was a pretty good play. I'll get you next time." And he will. He'll go out and he'll break up a pass on the very next time you go at him. So, I don't sense that there'll be any Josh Norman type antics from the Lions secondary. It's just not their style.
Justin Rogers with us right now from the Detroit News on the Zach Gelb Show, talking Lions and Giants this weekend, 1 p.m. Sunday on Fox. You mentioned that finger of Stafford. We know he's going to play, but how well do you think he's going to be able to play, especially when the Giants do have a ferocious rush and their cornerbacks are playing at one of the best rate in the league right now, and you'll probably have, I think the forecast right now, it's going to be cold in New Jersey, and there also may be some rain. So how about Stafford coming up this Sunday?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is not the first time that he's had a finger injury. In 2011, when he had his best professional season, we're talking 40 touchdowns, 16 picks, he had 3-game stretch where he was dealing with a broken finger, was wearing a glove, and he threw 9 of his 16 picks in those 3 games. And then, so last week when this injury occurred, he wasn't sharp after that. In the final 3 quarters, he was 9 for 20, threw for under 100 yards, threw 2 interceptions, 2 of his 7 for this season. It's a little bit different when you can prepare for it. They didn't have a good glove set up for him. He was trying a couple different options in the game. This week they have a whole week to prepare for how it is. He says the injury is not as bad as the one he had in 2011. He's wearing a glove with just a single finger covered to kind of give him that grip feel on the middle finger, which isn't the most critical to throwing a football. So it's really going to be, I think, just an execution thing. I don't think it's going to be an excuse for him. It might take a touch off his velocity, might take a touch off his accuracy, but the problem is, or the difference will be he needs to make good decisions. You can't force it into those tight windows that maybe he normally does. You can't take those risks because these Giants will turn it over.
It's been amazing what the Lions have done this year, and clearly have to finish the next 3 games with a rigorous schedule, playing the Giants, then in Dallas, both those games on the road, and they finish up the year at home against Green Bay, and Green Bay is getting hot right at the right time. But you take a look at the Lions before the year, everyone's saying, oh, that team's going to be a disaster without Calvin Johnson, Megatron retiring unexpectedly. And you take a look at this receiving core. Yes, they don't have a Megatron. You're never going to see that talent again probably in Detroit because that's a once-in-a-lifetime generational talent. But you've seen the core that they've put together, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and then the veteran presence of an Anquan Boldin. I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup, Justin, on Sunday, seeing those corners for the Giants at the level they're playing right now going up against the wide receivers of the Lions, who are also having a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lions didn't replace Johnson with just quantity or quality. They replaced him with quantity of quality. You take Calvin Johnson, you replace him with Marvin Jones and Anquan Boldin. Well, that's a pretty equitable exchange in the terms of the whole offense. There's a good chance the Lions are missing one of their most important offensive weapons this week. Theo Riddick has been nursing a wrist injury. He missed last week. He hasn't practiced this week. And that takes away one of Stafford's favorite targets. He caught 80 passes last year. He is one of the single most dangerous open field players in the entire NFL. And so you take that away, you take away that check down route, and the Lions really, the offense kind of sputtered a little bit without Riddick against the Chicago Bears last week. I think you're going to see a lot of quick passes from Matthew Stafford. They're not going to give a whole lot of time for that Giants rush to develop. And so, yeah, it'll be whether the Giants can scheme to take away these quick, short passes that the Lions love to throw.
And it looks like Vereen is going to be able to go this week. I know he just got out of concussion protocol, and he's back in practice. I was reading that yesterday on NJ.com. But you take a look at these run games, they're really bad. The Giants are 31 rushing offense. The Lions, statistically, I think they're 29th or something in that range. Just who gets the better run game on Sunday? I know you mentioned Riddick and that injury, but that run game could determine who wins this game. Who could get the best out of the worst?
I mean, the best might be 60 yards in this game,
yeah,
to be
right?
honest. It's going to be ugly. I've seen the Giants run the football. It's not good. The Lions have a rookie that has all the physical skills you can want in a running back. He's 6'1", 230 pounds. He's fast as the day is long, but he just doesn't have the patience or vision at this point in his career. So he's probably going to be the lead back. Dwayne Washington's his name. He's worth watching as a NFL fan because I think he's going to be good long term. But I mean, he had his best game last week, and it was 16 carries for 64 yards. So let's not get carried away with expectations this year.
Justin, you guys are in a pretty darn good spot, the Lions. Do you guys make the playoffs? I know you have a bye right now if the season started. Do you guys make the playoffs with the next 3 games that you have at hand?
Yeah, they got to win one. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. One will get them the wild card. If the one is the final game of the season against Green Bay, then it's the division, and that's, far more important to these Lions. I have a hard time believing they don't get one. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for both teams. Neither team's blowing anybody out. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, tight game, and let's face it, you give Matthew Stafford the ball in a tight game in the fourth quarter, and he's got as good a shot as anybody to pull it out. But I really do think they're going to beat Green Bay in that season finale. I know the Packers are absolutely rolling right now, but Lions have had some nice success against them at their stadium in recent years, so I fully do expect the Lions to make the playoffs.
If you had to rank them, these three teams, likely to beat them from 1 to 3, who's the most likeliest? I guess it would be Green Bay based off your answer, but how would you rank those three teams as they match up against the Lions?
I think the Lions are most likely to beat the Packers, then the Giants, then Cowboys. That run game is going to be tough to stop in Dallas. You guys have seen it twice and beat it twice, but Elliott's something special, and it's at their place too, which doesn't help.
What's the general feel right now in Detroit with these three games? I guess you kind of expect the worst when you've been a fan of this Lions team, to say the least, but where's the confidence level of the fan when it comes to the playoff argument like we're talking about?
That's a great question. I think the fans are, split. Half of them are downtrodden, beaten down from years and years and years of failure. 2012, this team was in very similar spot that they are now, final 4 games, and they lost them all and missed out on the playoffs by a game because they couldn't close out a season. People look at that and they say, well, here we go again with this team, but there's so much improbability that's happened this year with the 8 come-from-behind victories, 7 of those coming in the final few minutes of the game. People, there's at least a healthy percentage of the fan base that senses something special about this team, their will, their fight, their ability to get it done. So, there is no one consensus feeling from the fans. It's pretty even split, but, buckle up and enjoy the ride is what I tell people.
Yeah, it's a good way to go about it. Justin Rogers, before we let you run for the Detroit news, real quickly, because we also cover the Eagles here as being a station in New Jersey. You get a bunch of Jet fans, you get a bunch of Giant fans, you get a bunch of Eagles fans. We have the old head coach of the Lions, Jim Schwartz, as the defensive coordinator in Philadelphia, and they got off to a pretty darn good start this year, 3-0, and then that Lions game started to change things around. Just because you're familiar with Jim Schwartz, a lot of fans, they get annoyed that he doesn't blitz as much. So what would you say about just Jim Schwartz and this other crack that he now has as the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, he's made Brandon Graham look like a pretty darn good player, that's for sure.
Yeah, but he hasn't made Vinny Curry look like a good player.
Yeah, it's Jim Schwartz is as good as his defensive line allows him to be, and he makes average defensive linemen look good, and he makes good defensive linemen look great. And so if you take a draft or 2 or a little bit of free agency dollars and you invest in that defensive line, he can be a really great defensive coach. They don't blitz, and that's just because that's what he relies on. He runs 4 guys out there that are all capable of getting to the quarterback, and that lets him drop 7 and cover. When he has good enough players, it works, and when he doesn't, you see the struggles and the results you do now. We saw both here in Detroit. But I think Schwartz, probably, I don't know, maybe another year or 2, he should get another head coaching job. I know he's made some gaffes as a younger coach. He's had some personality gaffes. We all remember the Harbaugh handshake and some of the headset destruction here in Detroit. But I think he's a good coach and deserves another opportunity at some point.
Justin Rogers from the Detroit News. Appreciate it for coming on the Zach Gelb Show today. Thanks so much.
Anytime, Zach.